Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm excited to be joined by Joe Manusa, who'll be presenting on the business of getting business, why organizations must go digital and how to do so. So in a moment, I'll pass over to Joe, who can start the webinar. But just before we do, I'd like to let everyone know that we'll have a few poll questions, and at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A section. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to type these in, and hopefully we get a chance to answer those at the end. If we do run out of time, don't worry, Joe has kindly agreed to follow up with these questions following the webinar. So I'm now going to pass over to Joe, who'll be able to go into the webinar. So over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about the business of getting business, which is a digital marketing guide for small businesses. I've been told by some larger organizations it works for them as well, but it was written with a focus on the small business community. So let's start off with a poll question. The most critical function of an organization, regardless of industry, there are a few functions that every organization must master. If you were the CEO of your organization, what function would you place at the top of the list?
Okay, Joe, so we've just got the poll question open to the audience. We'll give it a few moments for them to answer the question, and then I'll come back and give you the results. Perfect. So we've had everyone answer. So we've had 34% say generating new and repeat business, 7% say servicing existing customers, 7% say managing all organizational functions, 14% say administering to employees' well-being, and 38% say all of the above.
Very good. Sounds like we have a smart group today. All of these are very important to an organization. But the question was, what's the most critical? And the answer that I'm going to share with you is probably a little shocking to some. And as somebody who owns a business, I can tell you that if you don't generate new business and you don't get repeat business coming back, none of these other things can happen. You can't service existing customers if you have no employees because you can't pay them because you don't have enough business coming in. And you can't manage or even have organizational functions without good employees who aren't getting paid. It all comes down to having a successful operation, and getting new business is the key to having a successful operation. And a lot of your new business can come from repeat customers, but it's still new business that drives the actual organization. So today we're going to really take a look at what does your business do, and I'm going to ask you to sit in the role of CEO for today. So everybody on this webinar has a specific job description and things that they do for their organization. But for the purpose of today's 1-hour webinar, I'd like you to sit in the role in the chair of the CEO and think like somebody who either owns or runs the business. And the theme for today is the business of every business is getting business. So a lot of times businesses are owned or run by technicians, people who were frustrated at a previous organization and decided to start a new company. And the reasons they were frustrated were typically technically aligned with what the business does. Whether you're an attorney or a solicitor, an accountant, regardless of what your organization does, a lot of the thinking of CEOs is based upon doing what you do better. But the reality is the CEO needs to be thinking about generating business. So that takes us to a poll question on digital marketing. Today's topic is centered on digital marketing. So how would one define or describe digital marketing? Is it advertising on the internet, sending emails, social media marketing, search engine marketing, or all of the above?
Excellent. So we've got the poll question open. We'll just let everyone have a few moments to answer this. Just to let the audience know, obviously we'll have a Q&A section at the end. So if you've got questions, keep typing them in, and we'll put them forward to Joe when we reach this section. So we've got the results to the poll. So we've got 0% advertising on the internet, 0% say sending in emails, 4% say social media marketing, 4% say search engine marketing, and 92% say all of the above.
Smart group. Couldn't fool you. Figured making the first question seem like all of the above, but not having that be the actual answer might have thrown you on this one. But yeah, all of these are parts of digital marketing. When I got started in business, it was 30 years ago, and there wasn't digital marketing. And I didn't really get active in digital channels until closer to 2010. And when I got started, I never used the term digital marketing. Digital marketing isn't even a term that I've really embraced until about 4 or 5 years ago. I used to think of it as internet marketing. And internet marketing is really a subset of what a company needs to be able to do today to generate the kind of business to compete with the threats that are out there. So it's digital is all of the traditional marketing that you used to do, being able to do it via digital channels through your computer. So let's take a look at what we're going to do today. I'll start out talking to you about who I am and specifically what I'm not. I'll address why I wrote the book. I want to talk about the focus of the book, which is we are under attack. Regardless of where you work, you are either at a very large organization, which is attacking, or you're at a smaller organization like mine, which is under attack. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the threats that are out there that maybe you're not seeing. And then in terms of responding to those threats, I'm going to talk about what our defensible strengths are and how we can align those as part of our responsive action. We'll talk a little bit about how everybody in the organization adds to the mix, meaning how we can actually use people throughout the organization to be part of our digital solution. Implementation, we talk a little bit how you actually put a process like this together, and slow and steady wins the race. Talk a little bit about measurable results. One of the biggest benefits of moving to a digital solution is that you can actually do a better job measuring a cause and effect action at your organization. And then I'll open it up to questions and answers. So who am I while at work? I am a small business owner. I have 30 employees, and I am the CEO, the primary owner of the company, but my role is also that as the chief marketing officer. We're a small enough company that I can't afford the luxury of hiring people to fill every position that I would like filled, and so I'm playing the part of CMO right now. I am a profit-seeking capitalist. I think there are some out there that think profit is bad, but everything that you could ever want to do in society to be helpful, to be a benefactor, to be a contributor, it helps to have money to help you do it. So an organization that is built around profit first is an organization that can grow and thrive. It can take care of its employees. It can take care of its role in the community. And that's a part of who I am in business. I'm a content creator. I was challenged to get involved digitally in 2007. I decided to start writing content July 1st, 2007. And I have published at least one article every single weekday, including holidays, since July 1st, 2007, without missing a single day. I'm an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, consultant, a mentor. Basically, I wear a lot of hats, which is very typical of a small business owner. My undergraduate degree is from West Point, the United States Military Academy, which I understand is similar to your Sandhurst. I graduated back in 1987. So what I am not a digital marketing expert. That might be a surprise when you think that I wrote a book on digital marketing, but you have to understand the vantage point from where I write. I write as a business owner, talking to other business owners and managers saying, hey, you got to take a look at this. This is something you really need to do at your organization if you want your organization to survive and thrive in the future. So though I'm not a digital marketing expert, I would say that I probably understand digital marketing better than 99% plus of the people out there. But there are people in digital marketing that could run circles around me. What I am not is a tech whiz. My undergraduate degree is in computer science. That's 1987. That's like, I know how to use an abacus. That is not like today's tech whizzes. And I don't think you need to be a tech whiz to understand digital marketing. What you have to do is have an appreciation for what your customers and prospective customers do during their lives and understand that you need to learn how to use some of the digital tools they're using so that you can reach them. And finally, I'm not a business systems know-it-all. I've owned my company for almost 30 years. I definitely am process oriented. I really look at process improvement on a regular basis, but there are people out there that are far more educated on business systems, and that's really not what I am. I am a small business owner, and I've written a book to help people like me who want to grow and thrive in the future. So why did I write the book? Well, first of all, it was in my head. I had so many ideas and thoughts about going digital that I wanted to organize it in a fashion that would make me better, that would make my company better. I wanted to be able to create a reference manual for anybody that I ever hired in marketing, because I've hired MBAs with marketing degrees and have been terribly disappointed in their lack of understanding the systems and processes that need to occur for a business to take advantage of a lot of the digital processes out there. Very well educated, very intelligent people, but schools are not teaching what's being done on the street. I'm finding that when I hire somebody very sharp, it's up to me to train them and to show them how to continue learning, because the digital solution is a moving and changing target. So the second reason I wrote the book was that it was needed. I wrote the book that I wish I had had back in 2007 when I started this journey. Another reason is notoriety. In my industry, there's not many published authors, so having a book that's basically a book on how I generate buyers for homes through generating business for my organization helps me separate myself from the competition. And then finally, from a training and consulting standpoint, the first thing I do when somebody is interested in making the transition from traditional processes to digital marketing, I tell them to read the book. They might not need me. I want this book to be the basis for creating the plan to help organizations evolve to where they need to be. And that brings us to our next poll question. The biggest threat to your organization. Remember, today you're the CEO. Today it's your company. If it grows and thrives, you benefit. If it contracts and suffers, it's on you. So in today's uber competitive business climate, it seems like there's a new threat to our organization popping up every month. If you were the CEO of your organization, which threat would you consider being the most distressing? A new local company, a regional organization that is growing, a global company that has diversified into your industry, digital marketers helping you and your competitors gain customers, or all of the above?
Okay, Joe, so we've got the poll open for everyone. We'll just give it a few more moments for them to answer. So okay, so we've had pretty much everyone answer. So 2% have said a new local company, 2% have said a regional organization that is growing, 22% say a global company that has diversified into your industry, 24% say digital marketeers helping you and competitors gain customers, and 49% say all of the above.
Okay, half of you fell for the all of the above trick. We're looking for the biggest threat to your organization. And I'm surprised that a quarter of you basically understand this threat. And the threat is digital marketers. Digital marketers are people out there that show up in an industry and they represent an opportunity for small business. You can hire a digital marketer to generate leads and send you contact information that your company can take advantage of and create business with. Digital marketers are in my view, the greatest threat to your organization because most organizations don't see it coming. And when I say small business is under attack, we're under attack from big business, but we're also under attack from digital marketers. The primary threat from big business is scale. Anything you can do, they can do cheaper. There are large organizations, and I think if we had to just choose one on the US side, I would say it's Amazon. Amazon is getting into all types of industries, and they're so large and they're so heavily capitalized that they can come in, look at what you're doing, create a similar solution, and do it a whole lot cheaper than you. They have the resources. They can test and try things without worrying about cash flow. And see, that's one of the things small business has to worry about that big business doesn't. Big business focuses on long-term profitability, or at least the good ones do. Whereas small businesses, sometimes you don't have the luxury of worrying about profitability. You're worrying more about cash flow. How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to get your employees paid? How do you pay out year-end bonuses in a year where you've lost money? Where does that money come from? Well, organizations like Amazon don't have that problem. So for you, failure is not an option, and for them, it's part of their business model. They want to take on processes, and it's okay to fail at them for quite a period of time while they develop their systems and their scale to make money. And so the threat from big business has always been there, but it's growing. But the threat from digital marketers, I call it the most diabolical threat of all. And the reason is it's an example of the parasite consuming the host. You've got these organizations that show up and they immediately show you a benefit, and they're a parasite in that you have to give them money, but in return, you have the benefit of getting additional customers. And it seems like a wonderful win-win process. And we'll spend a little bit more time on the parasite and consuming the hosts in a minute. Basically, with digital marketers, at the beginning, you can't live with them and you can't live without them. And in your industry, you need to understand, if you're not seeing this, it's not a question of if you will, it's a question of when you will see them. So some big business examples, I've already used Amazon. In real estate, we have been fighting Zillow. I believe Zoopla is your Zillow equivalent on your side of the pond. Excuse me. The real estate brokerage industry is so decentralized that a mere website is taking over our industry. And then we've got Google. It's not just a search engine or ad agency any longer. Google is spreading out. Those are easy to recognize big business examples, and they could be coming to your industry now or perhaps in the future, or maybe they're already a competitor. But digital marketers, on in the US, we have Home Advisor. I believe you have My Builder. And on average, a homeowner turns to Home Advisor every 2 seconds to find a professional. Why is there a blank there? Because their list is growing. Do you want an electrician? Go to Home Advisor. Do you want a plumber? Go to Home Advisor. Do you want a landscaper? Go to Home Advisor. And so all Home Advisor is, homeadvisor.com, mybuilder.com, all they are is digital marketing organizations. They don't have any electricians working for them. They don't have any plumbers working for them. They don't have landscapers, yard people. They don't have that. All they are is a digital marketing organization that has seen a weakness in the home services sector, and they've come in and they've built a reputation and a brand as a solution provider for a lot of these home services. So Home Advisor is now the largest plumber in America, and they don't have anyone that plumbs. They're the largest electrician in America, and they don't have anyone that's shockingly good at handling electricity. So Home Advisor is a big name, and if you don't, as an electrician, as a plumber, if you don't pay Home Advisor for leads, then your competition are getting those leads. Where we used to have a phone book and people would call our companies, Home Advisor now is the phone book, and that's how a lot of people are finding those services. So imagine if you were a small electrical repair company and you've been in business for 70 or 80 years, you're losing market share to a brand new organization that doesn't know the first thing about an amp or a volt. You're losing business to a marketer. And so your only solution, if you don't become one yourself, is to start paying them money. Now think about it. Do you really want to give money to the biggest threat to your organization? And as silly as that sounds, let's go to Zillow, because that's what's happening in real estate in America. Zillow was built off of realtors sending them money for leads for people looking to buy and sell homes. Well, Zillow made so much money doing that they are now creeping into the industry. Not only are they selling leads, they are now selling and buying houses. And soon, one day, they'll just take over the role of being a real estate services company. Why? Because we've had an industry that has done a poor job responding to the digital threat. Our franchises had a really good graph of market control back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they unfortunately didn't do their job. They didn't expand and grow and thrive, and their websites had very little value. All Zillow did was create a decent website for searching for houses. It's something you can do, honestly, in the US for about $500. They built a very simple solution that beat the existing solutions. Then they went public, had the kind of capital they needed to market it. And so now a good 20, 30% of all consumers go to Zillow. Could that happen in your industry? Coming soon, there's a growing field of digital marketers that are moving into all fields where digital marketing is lacking. And most organizations' response to digital marketing threats is that, well, that can't happen in my industry, see? And in the US, in real estate, what did we hear? Well, we heard Zillow's going to set up its own call center to qualify the consumers using their website. See, Zillow found out if they don't ensure that the real estate agent customer of theirs makes money, then their customer can no longer send them money. So Zillow used to send out all these leads, and then they'd lose their customers because the customers weren't any good at converting a digital lead to a customer. So Zillow set up its own call center. Said, you know what, we need to have people talking to the consumer after we've generated them as a lead, because these real estate agents we're selling these leads to don't know how to do that. So Zillow got further ingrained into what the service solution is. And what did the experts in real estate say? Well, they said Zillow doesn't understand what today's consumer in my market is going through. It's different here in Tallahassee. You know, Zillow headquarters is 2,840 miles, and I don't know what that is in kilometers, away from where I work. 2,800 miles. They're a long way away. And even in my little local market, people say, well, Zillow will never catch on in Tallahassee. They just don't understand the people here. Well, let me tell you something. People are people. Zillow understands. Their processes are getting better, and they're doing more and more what traditional real estate agents do, so they're demanding more and more of the fees that we're collecting from customers. Then they came out with this thing called an iBuyer solution, and they basically started offering to consumers, just come to Zillow, we'll buy your house. You don't need to put your home on the market. We'll just buy it from you. Well, what did the local real estate agents say? Well, home sellers in my area will never do that. They wouldn't sell their home at a discounted price because every penny is important to them. Convenience has no value. Money is the biggest driver for home sellers here. Well, I can tell you in some markets, the iBuyer solution, whether it's through Zillow or some other competitors, some markets that they started this process in, they're 30% market share, almost a third of the market, in where the local agent said it would never work. So, and again, Zillow is going to establish its own brokerage with employee agents to service the customers. And the response that we're hearing locally, even throughout the country in each local district, is they think their local homeowners want someone they know and they can trust, and they think they're not going to lose business to Zillow. And I think they're crazy. So I earlier said that the digital marketer is the perfect example of the parasite consuming the host. And I like to think of digital marketers as how to fund your competition. Okay, so let's look at the 4 phases that we're going to see a digital marketer go through in your industry if they haven't gotten there yet. It begins with promotion. You're going to get hit, or your marketing team will get hit, or your leadership team will get hit with emails and phone calls from a digital marketer saying, hey, we have customers that need a company in your industry, and we'd like to set up a relationship with you. For every customer we send you, you send us X number of dollars or pounds. Or they'll say, you pay us X number of dollars per month, and we will send you all of our traffic to your website. So there's different ways that it sets up, but what starts out is a well-funded marketer begins digital promotions, and they do it to influence consumer traffic. They target industries that are not doing good digital marketing that have big payloads. So that's why real estate was attacked so early on, because there was nobody doing a good job digitally, and the revenue from these customers is very strong. Okay, then we move into the first real parasitic relationship, and it's called mutualism. That's where the digital marketer sells contact information to organizations, and it's a win-win because organizations get leads, which they derive revenue from. So leads come into the organization, you're like, hey, this is awesome. They're doing our marketing for us. They are generating business for us. What could be better than this? It's just beautiful. And of course, they're getting revenue because when most digital marketing companies start out, they lose money. They start building their processes and online services to generate traffic, and they don't make money right away. So this mutualism is great. You give them money, they give you leads, everybody's happy, and we move into symbiosis. That's where they continue to upgrade customers and vendors until they reach a premium digital share. And what I mean by a premium digital share, they will have the data that will tell them how large your industry is and how much potential business is out there. And they won't try to go out and reach 100% of the business because that wouldn't be profitable. But they might set a target of reaching 35% of the business in your area. And so if they're trying to get to a 35% share, then once they get there, they are now effectively the biggest player in your industry. And even though they don't provide the services that your customers need, they now have control of the traffic of those consumers online. And effectively, they are what you wanted to be, which is the biggest, safest organization in your industry. But now, once they have that control, we move to that final stage, and they get to dictate the terms of the relationship. If they're generating 35% of the business coming into your area, and you've been buying that business, they could raise the prices, or they could start hiring employees to do part of that so that they could start moving into your industry. Or they can just constantly bid this stuff out to your competition. And there's always a competitor who's willing to pay more for online leads because they think it's going to help them break in the business. And it doesn't matter to them that it doesn't matter to the parasitic organization that it only lasts for a few months if it helps them drive up revenues. So how do you compete or beat the digital marketers? Well, you first of all have to understand their process. And their process starts with setting up content on the internet to draw traffic. They create what I call garbage content. If you're in the we've used electrician a few times today. If you're at a company that provides electrical services and they want to generate customers for that, they will start producing articles that answers what they believe are the consumer questions about what your industry does. But the funny thing is they don't know what the real answers are, so they make it up. They write very generic articles that don't provide real solutions, but because you're not doing it, their crap, garbage content is generating traffic. They have a massive marketing budget, so they can create landing pages for these people to sign up for business because you don't have landing pages for people to sign up for business. They have a churn and burn, generate and refer model. They're not going to service that customer. They just want to pull the customer's contact information from them so that they can sell it to you or your competition. Okay, so how do you compete with this? Well, first of all, you can produce exceptional content. You can answer the questions consumers in your industry are asking. You can do targeted marketing where that digital marketer doesn't understand in your industry is that there's a lot of people that want to talk to a company like yours that can't afford a company like yours. And through experience, your organization has learned how to, in a non-digital way, attract the right customer and do very little to attract the wrong customer. Well, the digital marketer doesn't know that. Early on, they generate all kinds of garbage traffic. Well, you can do targeted marketing to draw the customers you want, the ones that are the most profitable. And then with that traffic, you can do relationship development through calls and texts and email. Anywhere you see on here CTE, that's what that is, calls, texts, and emails. It's how we communicate with the digital relationships that we begin creating. All right, poll question. This is just to wake up people who are nodding off. So your defensible strengths, your organization does some things well and some things not so well. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. When you start thinking about the challenges ahead of you, countering the new threats from big business and digital marketers, what strengths can you lean upon? You've got product knowledge, process knowledge, local knowledge, situational knowledge, and experience, or all of the above.
Okay, Joe, so the poll's open for everyone. We'll just give it a few moments for everyone to answer. Just to remind the audience that we'll have a Q&A section at the end, so keep your questions coming in and we'll put them forward to Joe. So we'll just give it a few more seconds to get the last few delegates. Okay, so we have had 12% say product/service knowledge, 2% say process knowledge, 2% say local knowledge, 20% say situational knowledge and experience, and 63% say all of the above.
All right, 2/3 of you got that. Very good. And that's exactly right. Anything that your organization understands about your industry is a defensible strength. Amazon can't move to your area and know your local norms and practices and behaviors. Amazon has to learn those. Okay, they don't know the process that your customers go through in your industry. They have to learn those. They don't understand your product or your service like your organization does. And when I say your organization doesn't know anything. It's the people in your organization that have this knowledge. And so it's the people in your organization that you're going to turn to become a proper digital marketing organization. So we're going to take this local knowledge, our process knowledge, our experience, situational knowledge. That's the journey that your typical customer goes through. And we know what the customer prefers, so we need to become what that customer prefers digitally so that they can find us instead of finding a digital marketer. So I can tell you, this is a real estate example, but it's what I call the critical path to a sale. Your organization, your industry has a critical path to a sale. It could happen online in 5 minutes. It could be 15 years. You know this, although you analytically might not have considered this yet, but you can discover this through trial and error in digital marketing. What I can tell you is we see these stages occur in real estate. They go from pre-consumer. They don't have any need, want, or desire for a realtor or a real estate company. But about 9.5 months out from the day they close on their new home, they become what we call an information seeker. They have consciously decided to find a solution to a perceived problem. They're thinking about moving. Maybe they're going to move to London. Maybe they're going to move to Tallahassee. They don't have those kind of decisions made yet, but they're going to move. And so the things they do and the articles that attract them and the interaction that we can have with them is very different than a more mature consumer. So they spend about 3 months being this information seeker in real estate. Again, in your industry, if somebody's buying a $30 electrical device online, they might be an information seeker for 5 minutes. And then they become a comparison shopper. And this is somebody who has self-educated and they have formalized what they want. And they try to reduce their options at this point. Do I want to move to London or do I want to move to Tallahassee? Do I want, in real estate, do I want a 4-bedroom home or do I want a convenient condo? As they start reducing their choices, they are looking at needing different types of information online. So your organization, if you want to attract comparison shoppers, you have to provide the kind of content and the tools that comparison shoppers are going to use. And then about 3 months out in our industry, they become a ready buyer. They know what they want. They will pull the trigger and execute on their plan when the right solution is presented. In our case, when they find the right home, they'll get it under contract and then they'll close on it. So we have this process and this cycle, and we can tell where each different consumer is when we get their contact information. If we get their contact information from an article that is geared up for an information seeker, we know these people are further out. If we get a ready buyer type of question, we know they're ready to set an appointment and come see a home. So the study of the process is very important to your organization so that you can outlast and defeat the digital marketers coming in. All right, so poll question: who should develop winning content for your digital presence? In the digital world, content is king. Whoever writes the best stuff gets the best traffic. The organization that best utilizes digital channels to educate, inspire, and attract customers will be able to defend its position and grow and thrive. So who in the organization is tasked with producing this winning content? Is it the marketing department, the customer service staff? Is it the product development or improvement staff? Is it the management and leadership team, or all of the above?
Okay, so the poll's open. We'll give it another few moments for everyone to answer. We're almost there with everyone who has answered. Okay, so the results are, we've got 11% say marketing department, 7% say customer service staff, 9% say product sales and improvement staff, 6% say management and leadership team, and 67% say all of the above.
All right, got a smart group today, really tracking. Yeah, the reality is if you want to compete with the digital marketers, you have to produce better content. And better content isn't created by marketing. Marketing maybe is the one part of your organization that is least capable of producing the content. They don't deal directly with customers. They don't develop a product. How are they going to write content about a product other than by talking to your product development people? So the key to going digital is to recognize that this is not a change in marketing. Going digital is not a marketing change. It is an organizational change. It is a different way of thinking and a different way of doing business. When I started my change in 2007, I was looking for a marketing change. What I got was something a lot more than that. Okay, so everybody adds to the mix. And we're running short on time, so I'm going to fly through this a little faster than I intended. And just know that everybody has something that you need to be putting out online to help you draw and attract the customers you seek. Your sales staff knows what the customers want to know before the customer even knows it. So the sales staff has heard it all. Every single customer question and complaint, they understand it, they know it. Use your sales staff. Same thing with your customer service. Your legal and accounting doesn't deal with customers, but they have some legal case studies perhaps. They know the things that are profitable, so they can help you guide some of your content creation towards attracting the better customers that you're seeking. Okay, marketing will know where to put this content. And then everybody else, from your part-time employees to the people that are making products or executing the service delivery, all of them have input into what you can be providing. So how do you implement a digital solution? You know, it starts with the leadership team. Today, every one of you is the CEO. And what I would tell you as a CEO is it starts from you. If you don't understand that you have a significant role in changing the way that your organization is going to interact, find, and then interact with customers, you're going to get passed up because the world's changing. And if you're not digital and moving to a stronger digital solution, you're going to get passed up. So it starts with the leadership team developing a plan. All departments develop marketing support operations. Okay, we got to discover our hidden resources. These are the things that our organization has that we've never valued, like the opinion of some of our great employees that we've never really refined and used it to attract more customers. You're going to have to launch your digital solution. Maybe it's a new website, or maybe it's in the social media plan, or maybe it's an app that you develop. But you have to deploy enabled employees, and you need some kind of technology to do that. You've got to implement a CTE engagement plan. Remember, calls, text, emails. We're going to be interacting with customers a lot more in a digital world than we did in a traditional world. In a traditional world, we interacted with the consumer really at the end stage. And with the digital world, you're going to be interacting with them during the process of moving to your solution. So what's next? Future growth will be defined by the lessons you learn as you implement. Okay, measurable results. One of the most brilliant things about digital marketing is you really can truly measure the cost and effect of what you do. Okay, when you spend money in an omni-channel marketing plan, you know that you spent this much on search engine marketing, and you know you spent this much on digital TV and digital radio and whatever the source, search engine optimization. And you can start tracking how your business comes in. In traditional times, you relied on your sales force to tell you the source of your business. With digital, we have a footprint, we have a path, we can follow it, and we can know it. I can tell you where 95% of my business is coming from. And I mean, when I say where, I can attribute where that business, what dollar I spent to generate that business. And that means I can do an ROI analysis, return on investment, which tells me, hey, when I spend $1 with Zillow, I get $1.80 back. That's not that exciting. But when I spend $1 with Google in their pay-per-click program, I get $3.20 back. And that's okay, but that's not exciting. But when I spend $1 creating content, I get $10.80 back. Wow, that's exciting. And I know these numbers from my ROI because that's something that is driving our decision making on our evolution. And when I put this presentation together several weeks ago, and this was my ROI analysis on that day. I just did a screen grab. And so overall, I was at about a 3.8, 3.9 ROI on all the primary sources I was spending money. But my SEO was over 10 and almost 11 to 1. Search engine optimization is what you call the things that you spend money on to drive traffic to your website, to get people to interact with your company. And again, I say website, it could be your Facebook page, it could be one of your other social media channels, but it's you spending money to get people to interact with you digitally. And source number one is something that is primarily a Facebook spend that drives people to a digital marketing company that I'm using to generate almost an 8 to 1 ROI. The good news is I can do everything they're doing and I can replace them anytime I'm ready to. So you can see I've got two highly profitable sources, and what I can do is start spending more and more resources on those sources and starting eliminating my spend on any other sources that are not as profitable. And in the old days, traditional marketing back in the 80s and 90s, I was spending money and I was relying on my sales force to tell me what was working and what wasn't. And I can tell you that was highly unreliable. So one of the things that you've got to seek in your digital marketing plan is reviews on the internet. For my industry, I can tell you there is nothing more important than having a 5-star review on Google. And getting more and more 5-star reviews on Google is absolutely critical. And I consider reviews the currency of the internet, because you might reach somebody with great content. There's a good chance they're going to swing out to Google and check you out before they want to talk to you. So know that the 5-star review is the currency of the internet. And for you in your industry, you might need to be on more than just Google. I can tell you that we've got a pretty good presence on Zillow, and I hate it because I really see them as a competitor. But it's important for me, with as much traffic as they get, that I have plenty of reviews on Zillow. So I'm going to leave you with a final thought. In 2007, I owned a real estate company and wanted to advertise online. And that's how I got started with this. But today I own a digital marketing company that sells real estate. And that best reflects how I've changed. So I want to thank you for inviting me and open it up to questions and answers. I will ask, if you could, go to Amazon, put in my last name, MANAUSA, and find my book and buy it. If you don't buy it, leave a 5-star review anyway. Talk about hearing this seminar. I need more 5-star reviews on Amazon. I am the moron that decided to launch a book within a month and a half of COVID hitting everybody. So I've done nothing to promote the book. I've been focusing on my real estate business, and I would like this book to reach more small business owners, and you can help me do that with 5-star reviews on Amazon. So thank you. Paul, I'm open for questions.
Yep, thanks, Joe, for a fantastic webinar. Really insightful. A load of great takeaways coming from your presentation. So we've had a lot of questions come in, so hopefully we get time to answer them all. But just to let everyone know, keep the questions coming in. If we run out of time, don't worry, we'll pass them over to Joe, who'll be able to get in touch following the webinar with his answers. So I'm going to put forward the first question. So the question is, where does a small business start in digital marketing? Is it content creation on your website, or social media content, or other?
That is probably the one question I hoped to hear from viewers, because it is the question. How do you get started? And the reason I wrote this book was to help people get started. And the way I started, I just started creating content. But again, this book wasn't out there, and I don't think that's the right place to start. The right place to start is developing a plan. You've got to take a step back and spend a little time understanding your future path so that you can save a whole lot of time and resources and not have to go through my learning curve. It took me probably 8 or 9 years to get really good at this. I am not a natural writer. When I went through college, my worst grades were in English classes. I am probably the most prodigious content creator in the real estate industry in the United States. And I am not a good writer, not by a long stretch, but I've become a lot better than I was. So where do you get started? You get started by learning more about the process and writing a plan.
Excellent, thank you. So we've got another question. So is there any distinct difference between business to business and business to consumer digital marketing?
Is there a difference between business to business and business to consumer? Absolutely. Is there a difference in how you get and go about this? Absolutely not. Whether you're B2C or B2B, your first step is developing a plan. And a B2C plan is going to be a plan built upon reaching the C. A B2B plan is going to be a plan around reaching the B. And the way you go about it is going to be different. You're not going to necessarily be doing as much, like with B2C, you can put a good bit of your budget into search engine marketing. If you can run the right kind of ads, sending the consumer to the right kind of landing pages, you can be very profitable running search engine marketing on Google and some of the other search engines. But I'm not so sure those would be effective solutions in the B2B. And that's why your organization's got to sit down and say, what is it that we want to accomplish with our digital plan? And fortunately, nobody knows the answer to that better than your organization, because you've already got people reaching people in a non-digital fashion. We just now need to make the shift to digital.
Amazing, fantastic. I think that leads quite nicely into our next question. So the question is, are there any platforms or digital channels that are good for very niche markets? Our product is not for all consumers, but rather just a small group of experts who need it. How would we approach these targets more efficiently?
It's kind of a broad question. So and please correct me if I'm wrong. I take it you're saying there are some industries where there are highly focused and channelized areas where the consumer might be found. And how do we go about reaching that consumer? Is that basically what I'm hearing?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, it goes back to writing the plan. See, nobody knows where your customer is better than you do, and digital marketers, if you've allowed them into your industry. So I can tell you part of the learning process is finding an organization like you want to be, someone in a very similar niche or someone in the exact same niche in a different area. See, for me, I can find real estate companies anywhere in the United States. So I can go through the different social media channels until I find someone who I think might be doing very well. And then maybe there's some things I can copy from them. And I'll give you a recent example. I've got a marketing coordinator who decided he thinks we should be looking closer at Instagram as a lead source. And I can tell you, I've dabbled with Instagram and have had very little success. And so we came up with a little plan to test it. And my first thing I did in that plan was to have him go out and find someone who claims to be a guru of Instagram and real estate. And so he'll spend a lot of time on Instagram until he finds somebody selling how to make money in real estate on Instagram. And we'll get involved in some of that coursework and to see if there is truly a benefit to us being there. You know, there's so many people that sell so much garbage on the internet that you just need to know during your education process, you're going to buy some garbage, and it's going to be your job to read and learn and not take anything literal without proof. So if I were looking for a tight niche hidden consumer, I would start by my competition who's not necessarily my competition. For me, somebody selling homes in London is not a competitor of mine. So if there's somebody in London that's got a better digital solution than me, what a great place for me to look and explore and study and find some answers.
Excellent, thank you. So we've got a question around building personal brands. So the question is, what are your tips on building a personal brand, and how can you stand out from the crowd?
Well, this is something I put a lot of thought into when I created this latest iteration of my company. And for the first almost 25 years I was in the industry, I owned a company with a very, I don't know even the term, a very general name, Remax Realty North, Century 21 First Realty. So the name of my company described what we were. This latest iteration, I got what I feel is a whole lot smarter as a marketer. And the name of my company now is Joe Manassa Real Estate. And while that doesn't sound brilliant from your end, what I can tell you is when a real estate consumer is looking to hire somebody, they're not looking for a real estate company, they're looking for a real estate agent. So I wanted the name of my company to be a name that sounded like a real estate agent as opposed to a company. So I used my personal name as our company name, and I am able to market like my competition. But see, my competition is decentralized. Real estate agents are a business within a business. So the actual company does very little marketing to the consumer. So if there's a company with 300 real estate agents, there's 300 different marketing budgets. But in my company, there's just one marketing budget. Even though there's 30 of us out there, there's only one agent being marketed. So I am easily and by far the most dominant marketing entity in real estate in Tallahassee. So I would recommend you take that same approach in your organization and say, you know, it's not about who I am, because nobody really cares who I am. It's about what does the customer want and how do I effortlessly put that in front of them? How do I turn my marketing into something the customer wants? And the first thing I'll tell you is, you know what the customer wants better than anybody else in the world. You just have to think about it, you have to quantify it, and you have to segment it into the different stages that your consumer goes through before they execute on a plan on solving their problem.
Perfect, thank you. So I think we've got time for one last question, but don't worry, all the questions which have come in, we'll put them forward to Joe to answer, and he'll be in touch after the webinar. So the last question is, have you seen any particular good examples of organizations changing their marketing messages to fit into the new normal?
I mean, honestly, mine is the best example I can think of. We used to be a company with independent contractors, and independent contractor means if they sell something and they earn a commission, they get paid. If they don't sell anything, they don't get paid. So a real estate company is generally, and I got to tell you, 99.9999% of real estate companies in America are still this way. There is no communal effort. It is all individual effort. So some people at real estate companies make a ton of money, and some people don't earn enough to be above the poverty line. And our organization works from top down. We are built around customer service. We have broken the process of buying a home down into almost an assembly line mentality, and we have specialists that service the customer at different levels along the way. Our specialists are all employees. They're paid a salary. It doesn't matter whether or not we get a sale, they get paid. And by doing that, I get to focus on what I'm really trying to earn, which is a 5-star review. We're out trying to grow our 5-star reviews faster than anybody in our industry, because we know that's future currency, that's future business. And the transformation we've made from having independents who did everything individually to having an organization that has specialists. We have people who only work with buyers, people who only work with sellers. We have inside salespeople, we have outside salespeople. So we've got our marketing department. We are very much like a traditional big business and nothing like a real estate industry operation, because we recognize that there's a different way we have to interact with the consumer. Now, is there another organization out there that's made this change? Probably, and if I can think of a good one, I'll include it in my answers later.
Perfect, thank you, Joe. So unfortunately, we seem to have run out of time. So I'd just like to thank you, Joe, again for an excellent and insightful webinar. Just before we wrap up, just to let everyone know that our next webinar is taking place on the 3rd of March at 12 p.m. GMT, and that's with Jeff Gothel, and he'll be presenting on Forever Employable, how to ensure your career stays agile as your work. So if you want to attend that webinar, please head over to our website. You'll be able to register for that webinar and obviously view all our other webinars which will be taking place in the coming months, and be able to register for those as well. So just before we go, also the session has been recorded. You'll receive an email a week from today with access to view the recording. So this will be sent to the email which you registered for the webinar. So please look out for that. Lastly, thank you again, Joe, for a fantastic webinar. Really good, super insightful. He'll be in touch following the webinar with answers to your questions. So yeah, and we just look forward to seeing everyone on a webinar shortly. So thank you, Joe.
My pleasure. Thanks, Paul.